Good morning. Welcome to Walking Boxing. It is Tuesday, May 27th, 2025. And another really good night last night on Talking Boxing. If you haven't seen it before, then make sure you check that out on at 7 p.m. every Monday night, Australian time that is. We have had a few international viewers. Apologies also, before we get going, to those that may be logged on at 7:30. Now, when I loaded it for the notification thing, whatever you do, I actually mistakenly put 7:30. So if you logged on at 7:30, apologies, you missed the first half an hour. I think it does give you a notification, doesn't it? Even if I do go live early, I think it does come up to say that I'm live. I'm not sure, but it wasn't intentional. I don't know why I put 7:30 in, because of course every week at 7. So, but we had really good numbers last night, consistently sort of, around sort of 55, 60 people watching live at the one time, which is always pretty good. I know it doesn't sound a lot in the scheme of things, but, considering when we started, we had about 5. It's just really good to get on there and not just talk to myself for 2 hours. So, which is what I used to do. It's amazing. I actually look back at some of the first episodes I did just the other day. I don't know what it was. My camera was all over the place. I had nothing to talk about because no one was watching. I think I only went for an hour and a half, but it was just the whole time me just talking to myself. And I think what I used to do was just go through the news and go through the boxing cards coming up, and eventually there was one to sort of log on, and then there was 2, and when it got to about 6 or 7, I'm thinking, yes, we're on the right track, and here we are, sort of anywhere between 55, 60, even 65 sometimes. So thanks to everyone that tunes in. It's a really good little boxing community we've got going there, and it's building all the time. What are we about? The other day, 2,160, I think we had subscribers. So growing all the time, and thanks to every one of you out there that watch it every week. And this episode, of course, Walking Boxing every day. I get a lot of messages saying it's compulsory viewing every morning, which is great to hear as well. I mean, it just started off as me just walking Neil and looking for something to do. And I thought, well, while I'm walking along thinking about what's going on in the boxing world, well, maybe I'll just get my little camera out. I started on my phone, and now I've got the proper camera, but just to just talk about my thoughts on what's happened in boxing in the last 24 hours. And if there's not anything going on, well, I'll just make something up and talk about a topic that we that might be on my mind, or topics that you guys might bring up. And I have got one. If I get time, I'll talk about it. But I do get things every day with people saying, "Why don't you?" Or what do you think of this, and what do you think of that? So anyway, so last night's topics, actually before we get on to that, I better get on this day, didn't I? There's only a couple on this day. This is a good one. On this day in 1719, yes, 1719, 306 years ago, where was it? James Figg became the first English bare-knuckle boxing champion. No gloves back in those days. It was just, let's get a crowd together. They probably had big numbers back then too, everyone rolling up. It would have been a little bit like Fight Club, I suppose, wouldn't it? Just everyone rolling up and let's go. Bare knuckle, that's crazy. But yeah, 1719 that was, pretty amazing. On this day into the modern day boxing, even though it was 40 years ago, 1983, marvellous Marvin Hagler defended his world middleweight title with a 4th round knockout of Wilfred Scipion, and that was his 7th defense of that belt. And what a champion he was. And it's funny, like every year when the International Boxing Hall of Fame comes around, which is only a couple of weeks away, thoughts always go to marvellous Marvin Hagler. What a fighter he was. He was a permanent sort of fixture at the Hall of Fame. He'd go every year. They had, last time I was there 3 years ago, they had his car that he used to drive in all mounted up, and still had his nameplate on the car, and there was just a little vintage, whatever it was, I don't even know what make and model of car it was, but it had this vintage type of thing, and they had a tribute to him, and he really touched a lot of people, marvellous Marvin Hagler. He really did. And I just remember when I was sort of old enough to watch boxing, being sort of 9, 10, 11 years old, I just remember it was all about marvellous Marvin Hagler. I remember watching him dismantle Mustafa Hamsho, Madison Square Garden. Would have actually been in 1984 maybe, I think it was actually. So the year after that fight with Scipion there. And I just remember he was at Madison Square Garden from memory, and one of the few live fights that was actually televised into Australia. And I think it was only, they'd almost, you might as well call it a double header. It was around that time as well. It might have even been a few weeks later or earlier, whatever, that Thomas Hearns knocked out Roberto Duran in 2 rounds. And of course, that would set them on the collision path the following year. But I remember Marvin Hagler, and I'd read the magazines about him, but I'd never seen him fight, which I know is unheard of in this day and age with the internet and everything. But back then, there was no internet. So I'd read all the magazines about him every month, about marvellous Marvin Hagler. And finally got a chance to watch him live, and he knocked out Mustafa Hamsho with 3 rounds. I just remember thinking, wow, this guy's an absolute killer. And then around the same time, as I said, Thomas Hearns demolished Roberto Duran. I'm thinking, wow, this guy is a killer, and a really big killer. Like he just seemed so larger than life, Thomas Hearns. He was so tall, and Duran was short. And that knockout to me, for me, still the best knockout I've ever seen. The most complete, destructive performance I think I've ever seen in a boxing ring between 2 quality fighters. Now, whether Duran was up for it that night, who knows? But that was peak Tommy Hearns for me. Wow, lightning quick jab, even quicker right hand, pulverising right hand. And when he set Duran up, I think he dropped him twice in the first round, and then in the actually it was a. No, I think, was it one, whatever it was, but he dropped him with a beautiful right hand for stars. I don't know how we got onto this subject, by the way, but here we are. But he dropped him with that beautiful right hand, and then it was a little flurry of punches, put him down a second time, and then when he lined him up on the ropes, jab to the body, right hand over the top of the head, and that was it. As Isaac Harbin would say, it's 1-2 Timmy Zoo, all over. And at that point, I think everyone thought the career of Roberto Duran was over, because just a devastating loss for him. And who would think that 5 years later he would win the world middleweight title with that win over Iran Barkley. All right, so we've reminisced enough anyway. I don't know how I got on to Thomas Hearns and Roberto Duran, but I always like to go back to those times, because for me, they were the golden years. I know everyone relates back to the, I suppose when they were growing up and what they were looking for back in those days. But for me, even though I was only in my, early years, 10, 11 years old, just those fights and going up. And I remember, Larry Holmes around that time as well. I still remember, even though I was only about 8 years old, the Holmes-Cooney fight in the early 82 it was. And, then all those years of the Hagler, Hearns, Leonard, Duran years. And then Tyson came around, and just a magic time in boxing it was. It really was. And then we went through the next generation, of course, of the Mayweathers and Pacquiao's and De La Hoyas and Roy Jones Jr.'s and, just Costa Zoo here, of course. But yeah, just a great time to think back. And I've just spent most of this episode just reminiscing without even talking about what's happening in the world today. So what's happening, of course, today is here in Australia is Terence Crawford is here. And he spent his first day yesterday with Tassie Brown. I saw the footage of him getting off in Sydney, and there was Tassie to meet him, and I think they got on a plane. Actually, I don't know whether they did any functions or anything at the start. I'm not sure, but he ended up on the Gold Coast, and he did a function last night. I think he did a dinner and all that as well. So he's going to be busy. I'm not sure whether he knew he was going to be this busy, but Tassie will be getting his money's worth. Don't worry about that. I did go to that sanctuary. I saw that, and he's had the footage with the koala and the kangaroo, and he loved the Tasmanian devil, which was good. The funny thing for me though was, and I like Terence, I really like him, and I'll tell you why in a sec. Because he came out of I like him anyway, but even more now, more so now, because he walked out of the hotel, and Tassie must have got the idea that, being a mad Collingwood supporter, I'll present him with a Collingwood jumper or a Guernsey. And Tassie met him on his way out through the doors. Come here, Neil. He's decided to go for a walk on the oval. Come here, man. Hey. Come here. He's got a guy out in the oval. Come here, man. All right, I'm going to have to get him, I think. If I can get out there. He'll come. He'll get fed up. Come here, Neil. Neil, come here. He'll come. Little bugger. There's a dog out there. I sort of let him off the lead a little bit when we're around these parts, because there's no one around. He's not really fussed about other dogs or anything like that, so there's a bit of a stare-off going at the moment. I might have to pause this in a second, go get him, but we'll see how we go. Come on, man, let's go. Just stand there. I'll find a spot to go through. Oh, hang on, I'm going to have to get him here. Hang on. All right, we're back. I got him. He wasn't like in any danger or anything like that. He's not a real threatening dog. He just sort of saw the guy on the oval playing with the ball, and just thought he'd wander over and say good day. Very, very slowly. He's actually really good around dogs. But the guy actually out on the field is a bit of a peanut to an ignorant dickhead he is. Doesn't say good day, he just walks past. How can you not be able to walk with your dog and say good day to people walking past? But anyway, I've seen him a few times. He's a bit of an ignorant sort of guy. But anyway, I'll continue to say good day, and it's up to him whether he wants to say good day in return. All right, so I was talking about Tassie and Terence Crawford. So Terence Crawford walks out of the hotel, out of the lobby, and Tassie decides to present him with a Collingwood Guernsey. And a good call from Tassie, I will say. Good, should get some good publicity, especially if he tags the Collingwood Football Club into it. And he presents him with the trophy. And I think he said along the lines of, I'd like to make you an honorary Collingwood supporter, and presents him with the jumper. Well, Terence Crawford's having none of it. He just keeps walking, smiles, and takes the jumper and throws the jumper over the shoulder and just keeps walking like, yep, thanks, mate. Tassie's, I think, trying to explain the significance of giving him the Guernsey, all that sort of stuff. And Terence Crawford's like, yeah. So I'm hoping that he had that little sixth sense about Collingwood Football Club. All right, he's just like, yeah, this is not a great looking jumper. I've got bad vibes about this club, bad club. And I'll just be nice and smile and take the jumper, but there's no friggin' way in hell I'm going to put this jumper on. I'm hoping that's what he said. Being a Carlton supporter, that is. But good call from Tassie, actually. I'm sure he was just in a rush, by the way. He wasn't being rude. He was just wherever they were going. He probably didn't realise the significance of Tassie presenting him with the Collingwood jumper. I'm sure it would have been discussed a bit later. And as I said, he'd be smart to tag Collingwood in that post, because you never know, they might get him to the club when he's in Melbourne, and Tassie might go and get a little bit more exposure because of it. They are the biggest club in Australia, by the way. I will give them that. I hate it, the fact that they are. We're probably number 2, but this is AFL, that is, but Collingwood's still number 1. I'm sure Richmond fans will probably have something to say about that, but anyway, I'm sticking to that. So anyway, I'm not sure what they got on today. I think they've got another couple of gym appearances and another meet and greet or something like that. And then I'm pretty sure they come to Melbourne tomorrow, I think. It is a real whirlwind tour, by the way. I think it was only from the 26th to the 30th he could be here, which is why he's just Gold Coast, Sydney, and then back to Melbourne. Actually, he might be getting in Melbourne even on Thursday, whatever it is. Anyway, so still time for tickets. Jump online and grab them while you can. Now, we've been talking about Manny Pacquiao's fight with Mario Barrios for the last sort of couple of weeks on all my shows, even some other shows I've been on. So now that's probably hard enough to get your head around, that he's fighting Barrios for the WBC belt after not fighting for 4 years and seemingly on the scrap heap, Manny Pacquiao. But apparently, according to his manager, advisor, whatever it might be, Michael Gibbons, who's been with him a long time, not really nice guy, Michael Gibbons, he was interviewed and said that this is not it for Manny Pacquiao. Win or lose, apparently, he's looking to fight again next year. Now, that's all good in theory. Even if he loses, he could sort of step back and just fight a real lesser light if he still wants to scratch that itch, as they say. If he still wants to fight, that's okay, but do it against sort of similar level or age fighters, whatever it might be. But scarily enough, he said that Gervonta Tank Davis is on the radar as far as someone they would like to fight. Now, geez, you talk about Mario Barrios is one thing, but Gervonta Tank Davis is another thing. Look, the only thing that could maybe save Manny to some extent is that the fight would have to be at 147, so Tank would have to go up 2 divisions. Not sure why Manny, even in the first place, would want to fight Tank Davis, even if they're around the same weight. Well, there's plenty of other guys, if he wants to keep fighting, that he could fight, even if he wins that belt. I mean, there's guys like maybe a Conor Benn, although I think that would be a dangerous fight for him as well. There's some other fighters out there anyway. I don't know why he would need to take on the most dangerous lightweight in the world in Tank Davis. And I think even at 147, that could end really badly for Manny. Look, I'm not sure whether this goes on behind closed doors when they talk, but surely someone's got to be saying, Manny, mate, you don't want this. You don't want this. I understand you want to fight. We can get you fights. But do you really need to come back at the top level? Now, he might embarrass all of us and beat Mario Barrios. I get that. But I just would hope that, and I'm probably sure, well, I'm going to say it's probably not the case, but I'm hoping that it is, that it's not all about the money and everyone getting a slice of the pie. He's going to get paid a lot of money to fight Barrios and potentially whoever else after that, that all those guys that are patting him on the back at the moment and saying, yeah, Manny's back, he's going to do this and going to do that, aren't the same ones that have sort of got their hand out for their slice of the pie. I really hope not. We see it too often in boxing, and I hope Manny Pacquiao's not the latest one. Surely there's got to be someone that says, Manny, please just call it a day. But by all accounts, apparently his wife, who's been pretty much against his boxing career the whole way, or not against it, but like any wife, doesn't like to see the husband in a fight, whether it be getting paid or not. Although it does look like she enjoys the money a bit, doesn't it? But apparently she was the one that was sort of pushing him to have another fight. So I don't know. Lots of maybe a lot to come out later on, but. The fact that he's talking about Gervonta Davis, I don't like it. I really don't. Another fighter being talked about is Anthony Joshua. And word is from Eddie Hearn that he has had that operation. About 6 weeks, he should be right to get into full training. Now, considering it's only the end of May, he did say it was going to be December. Could we maybe get him ahead of time, or to come back ahead of time, which would maybe just dangle the carrot in front of someone like a Tyson Fury? I know Tyson said he's retired. I don't believe it, probably like a lot of you out there. But let's see, if it's like mid-July, he'd be ready to go back to training. He could ease into it, even if it's 4.5 months even, to really just ease into it and get himself right. What would that be? Or that would actually be around about would be actually December, wouldn't it? But I think Eddie Hearn said it might even be maybe October, November, he might be ready to go. So if that's the case, Tyson Fury, where are you? Let's go. There'll be too early, you would probably think, for the winner of Usyk and Dubois. They're fighting in July, although what's that, the 7th month? Yeah, no, I doubt it. I doubt they'll be ready to fight again that quickly. So again, the Tyson Fury fight makes the most sense out of any of those fights, and I've still got that feeling we're going to get it. Now, speaking of the Usyk and Dubois fight, Moses Otama, who just fought on the weekend with that second round knockout, apparently he's going to be fighting on the Usyk and Dubois undercard. So it's only going to be an 8-week turnaround for him. Now, there has been talks that he would fight Martin Bakole. Frank Warren has knocked that on the head. He says not going to happen, not interested in Bakole. Looked shocking in his last 2 fights. And including that knockout to Parker, of course, and then the draw with the Jagbar. But he said that they are looking to step him up as far as his competition goes. So let's see. I did say yesterday looking at either Hrgović or a Zhang, or who else was there? There was someone else. Actually, I think Bakole was the other one I was talking about. But so it could come down to Zhang or Hrgović as the opponent for Moses Otama on that Usyk and Dubois undercard. So I think this is the first fight they've actually announced for it, which is surprising that we're only, 8 weeks away from the actual fight. But all the announcements will probably come thick and fast. And what a weekend that's going to be. Wow. We talk about those big Riyadh cards overseas. Looking forward to all those big fights over the weekend. Well, geez, we're going to have the Pacquiao and Zhu doubleheader. We're going to have Usyk and Dubois. And we're going to have Bam Rodriguez and Cafu, I think it is. Is he fighting Cafu that night? Yeah, that same night. So it should be awesome. So anyway, I think that's going to do it for today, guys. I think that's about all that's on my mind. But again, thanks to everyone that tuned in last night. Thanks to everyone that watches these episodes. It means a lot. Remember, if you've got any questions, queries, whatever it might be, topics that you might want me to discuss on here, make sure you let me know via the comment section here, or follow us on Instagram, and you can message me through there as well. And any updates you might get, any news you might sort of see along the journey that you don't think I might know about, send it to me, and obviously I'll put that on the list to discuss the next day as well. So guys, have a great Tuesday, and we'll catch you tomorrow.